What is up, Ive Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today I'm gonna teach you how to get to 7 to about 8% body fat using intermittent fasting. Stay tuned. Before I start, a few key things. Number one, for women, it isn't 7 to 8, it's about 17 to 18. So if I'm talking about body percentage for men, women, all you have to do is add 10 to it, and then you're all set. 10% body fat is equivalent to 20% body fat for women. That is just the nature of things. Women have to carry more body fat, which doesn't mean you're not gonna see abs and all that stuff. It's because you have other parts of your body, breasts, for example, that carry fat, things like that. Your legs can carry more, body fat than men. So for women, it's 17 to 18, for men is 7 to 8. So now I cleared that up, let's move on. Another point that I wanna make is that I used to be very lean. I used to be probably like 4 to 5% body fat. It wasn't comfortable to be down there. 7 to 8% is much more comfortable. Is it necessary? No. You can be at 10%. Sometimes I let myself go up to 10%. Sometimes I let myself go up to 9%. You can be at any body fat percentage you like, as long as it's close to 10. Even if it's 11, you'll be fine. Depending on how your body shape is and how your body looks, you may start seeing abs at 11. Normally, the rule of thumb is that you'll see abs appear and start to show when you get to 10% body fat. Now that we got that out of the way, let's dive right into how you can get to this body fat percentage, 7 to 8, while using intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is probably the most important thing, period, when it comes to this. Now, I know people have made it to 7 or 8% body fat without intermittent fasting, because there were, obviously, back in the days, not a lot of people who utilize intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is still fairly new. Intermittent fasting has only been popular maybe about 4 years, 5 years. In terms of popularity. When you don't utilize intermittent fasting, it becomes extremely difficult. And the people that can actually make it down there are people that are razor focused on their macros, their calorie intake, and do not celebrate food in any way, shape, or form. Simply use it as a fuel source to facilitate getting down to 7 to 8% body fat. So you have to understand, if someone wants that look and they're doing it with a normal diet in terms of eating 3 meals or eating 6 meals or eating throughout the day, they eat solely for the purpose of making it to 7 to 8% body fat, and they do not eat at all for any other reason. It's not to sit down with the family, it's not to enjoy anything. They don't sit down with the family, they don't enjoy it, like they don't do any of that stuff. They simply focus 100% on getting to 7 to 8%. And food is nothing but a tool to get there. So just keep that in mind. That is simply because it is extremely, extremely difficult. People can do it. People have done it. Bodybuilders have done it. Your average Joe has done it. It just takes that razor sharp laser focus when you're not utilizing intermittent fasting. Now you can throw intermittent fasting into the mix and it becomes much, much easier. Why? Because of the calorie intake and the fact that you can feel satiated after your meal. The thing is, your brain is very, very powerful. So if you aren't satiated after the first meal or the second or the third, every meal is gonna feel incomplete. And then you're gonna feel that anxiety knowing that you gotta do this for a good amount of time before you get to the body fat percentage that you're looking for. So if you get to eat all of that in one meal or just 2 meals, then your brain will actually start telling you, okay, this is pretty satisfying. I can do this. To get to 7 or 8%, you gotta do this on a consistent clip. There isn't gonna be any like, let me relax here, let me relax there. No, create a system where you're gonna be able to pull this off on a consistent clip. Now, I'm gonna tell you what I did, and then I'm gonna kind of give you a more universal thing that everyone can do to make sure that they get down to 7 to 8%. Now we already know, incorporating intermittent fasting, that is 100% important. You gotta do that. If you don't do that, it's gonna be 10 times harder. Now, what I did in terms of the calorie aspect, I didn't really focus so much on if I put carbs above fats or fats above carbs And I know the ketogenic diet is a high fat diet and with a lower carb intake, but I didn't focus too much on that. I did focus on making sure that I had more protein than everything else when my calorie intake was lower. So, like if I had to consume 1,500 or 1,600 calories, I made sure that I had that amount. This is what I did to get to 7 to 8% body fat. I did my body fat calipers. I used body fat calipers to know where I was at the time that I utilized the body fat calipers. I think I was like at 19% body fat. So I used the body fat calipers to know where I was. So I looked at my lean weight, I looked at my body fat, and then I did the math in terms of what's the calories for my body and for my activity. What is the calories that I need to intake to be at 7% body fat? I did that math, and the math told me it was about 1,500 to about 1,600 calories. I consumed the math that would bring me all the way down there. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that because you'll plateau. Your body would see that you're such caloric deficit that it will stop everything that you're doing. And the body doesn't work like that. As long as you're intermittent fasting, you are raising your insulin. As long as you're at caloric deficit, you are burning that fat off your body with the lowered insulin. And how many calories you're not taking in is how many calories have to go out based on your energy expenditure. So yeah, the only thing that might do is a psychological thing where you don't feel full enough or satiated enough because you're not eating that much calories. But when you do intermittent fasting, you do feel that, because once you're in the rhythm of just eating on specific times, 1,500 calories. I mean, if you guys saw my full day of eating recently, it didn't even reach 1,500 calories, and you saw how much was on that plate. You saw I had the quinoa on the side with the beans. I had 3 pieces of chicken. Like it was a lot of food on my plate, but still not even 1,500 calories. So keep that in mind. It's more psychological than anything. Your body's not gonna just hit a wall because your calories are too low. As long as your calories do never go below 1,200, which is just an unhealthy range per day, you're good. You'll be good. I took the math for what my intake should be at 7% body fat to maintain my 7% body fat. And then what I did from there, I just kept it from 15 to 1,700, because I think 1,700 would have had me at 9% or something like that. So I was like, okay, so I'm gonna range it. I'm not gonna always be like, okay, I need 1,572.259 calories. I didn't do that. I just created a range to make it easier for me, to make me be able to, at a glance, after I kind of understood how much calories was on my plate, just know how much calories I had there, so that I would eventually eliminate counting calories, which I eliminated counting within like about 3 weeks, because I just started to understand how much was on my plate, because I created a range. I didn't need to be perfect. So a range of 15 to 1,700 is a good range for you to be like, okay, so you could be off a little bit, but you'll know that you're between those two numbers. So I created a range. I didn't create a specific number. I created a range, and that range would allow me to be below 10%, which was my goal. I just wanted to be below 10%. And quick note, I never ever saw my abs ever in my life until I utilized intermittent fasting and did this process here. You want to do that, and then you have to add going to the gym. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people want to do intermittent fasting. I know they want to make it as easy as possible, and I know they don't want to have to go to the gym, and I know that it's somewhat of a nuisance, but you have to use weight resistance. You have to build muscle, because that sends more signals to your body to reallocate the calories that are coming in towards your muscles and starve your fat. That's how you do it. You make sure your insulin is low, so that the calories that your body wants to take out is the body fat and not the muscles. And then you want to facilitate muscle growth so that your body gets more signals to tell it, oh, well, he wants muscle, but he doesn't want body fat. Or just create the platform where it's like, Well, we have to fuel the muscle because he's constantly doing the resistance, and we have to prepare for the next time that he does it. So every time he breaks the muscles, we build new fibers because we have to prepare for the weights that he's putting on his body. And the insulin is low, so I have access to all this body fat storage, so this is what we're gonna use. So if you do that trifecta of being at the calorie range of below 10% and building muscle to fuel the calories towards muscles while lowering your insulin, utilizing intermittent fasting, all of that trifecta will give you the ability to cut all the way down to going to below 10%, about 7 to 8% body fat for men, 17 to 18 for women. Now, one thing that anyone can do is that you can incrementally get there. Now, this is a more universal tactic. Like I said, that thing that I just showed you, it worked for me, and that's what I used, and it was easier for me to do it without overwhelming my mind with every little nook and cranny, as if I was doing it for like 6 meals a day type stuff, where I had to pay attention to every single thing. But you can incrementally get there if you want. You can do it where you are looking at your calories based on where you want to go for the next 5% body fat that you're trying to lose. So if you're 20, how to get to 15%. Once you get to 15, then how to get to 10%, like that. So you can do it incrementally like that. You can figure it out in an incremental way, but that is up to you. But that is a more universal tactic, as some people psychologically can't just have a specific calorie range and just drop to that calorie. Now, a lot of people say, well, Edward, I've tried that, I've done it, it doesn't work. It works if you do it every single day. And by that I mean every day. Do not snap from that. There's a certain level of discipline that you must have to get past that 10% threshold. And sometimes it's not going to be the most fun thing in the world. But if you want to get there, which you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to, but some people just want to get there. Or if you want to see how you look, just get there, see how you look, hang around a little bit, and then get back up to about 10 to 11%, 12%, that's fine. But if you want to get there, there's got to be some stuff that you give up. If you hit this number every single day and you do it for a good amount of time, depending on how much body fat you have in your body, how much body fat percentage you have, and you can do this. You measure your body fat with the body fat calipers. I have the video how to measure your body fat if you want to take a look at that. And then you go slowly that way, you will make it. Just make sure that you are utilizing cardio, but more important is that you're utilizing weight resistant training, which is you're ensuring that the muscles that you have, that you're maintaining that to the highest possible ability. So if you have a certain amount of muscle weight on you, you want to keep that on you by doing the exact same weights while you're doing this cut. That way, you know that you're gonna keep all the muscles as much as you can, because I kid you not, guys, I kept 97% of my muscle tissue when I dropped all the way down to get to 7% body fat. And this was an 8-month span. It was an 8-month span, and I hit it every single time I would check, and my lean mass would be like the same. I think in the last 2 months it's dropped like maybe 2 pounds, 3 pounds. It was like that, slowly. I literally kept 97% of my muscle, because that's how intermittent fasting works. It holds on to your muscles. This strategy works both for women and for men. So hopefully this helps you guys. If you want to get there, it's not the most important thing in the world to be 7%, 8% body fat. I find it to be much more comfortable if you just range yourself or hang around, 10%, 9% body fat. But if you want to make it there, and if you want to get that super, the abs showing, the size showing, and all these stuff just popping out of your body, then go ahead and try this tactic that I just explained. Is literally the tactic that I use, or you can incrementally do it by focusing on the next body fat percentage that you're trying to reach, and then going from there. And I want to give a special thanks to all the patrons that I have on my Patreon, putting their names up here, of course. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday for another FAQ. Peace.